So we got Lisa. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Frank. Hello, John. Hello, Ken. Hello, David. Hello, Sam. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Linda. Everybody else is joining here. If I miss anybody, I apologize. Long list, so I hope you guys are doing well and safe out there. Gorgeous day, better than, I don't know if you guys got hit by those storms last night, but woke me up at 5:30 this morning. So if starting the full presentation here in a few minutes, takes about 25, 35 minutes at the tops. On the far right-hand side of the screen, you'll see some clicks over there. If you have any questions, please hit the question button and answer any questions you want. I'll get those at the end individually. Or if you have a chat that you just want to say something on the side while we're going through, you can put that on the chat mark as well. And you also see a little side there, the handout that we are handing out for this particular webinar of the services we offer out there. So on the far right, you'll have those knobs for yourself, either for a question, for one of the handouts, or for the chat feature. So just want to say, I'm going to get going here. Personally, I want to say thanks again for joining us here today. I know we're all in a homesick mode right now. It feels like I've been saying this over and over, like Groundhog Day. It's like every day we're waking up and doing this all over again. Unprecedented times, to say the least. I'm just hoping everybody that's on attendance here today is safe and healthy and doing well, and doing our part to take care and get this thing over with as soon as possible. So God bless everyone out there, and stay safe. I'm going to take my picture off the screen now so you don't have to be suffering for that any longer, and get going on this presentation here. And any of you that just joined me, on the far right, you will see there's a question tab, a handouts tab, and a chat tab. And so this presentation, every week we're going to be doing different topics. Next week is basically came up with 6 steps on how to prepare for a bear market. And the week after that, we're having a different topics out there. People, if you have any suggestions on a topic you'd like us to cover during this, or you'd like to have a personal webinar, because we can actually do a one-on-one meeting virtually here, just shoot me a question and we can go from there. But today's topic is more of the fundamental behaviors of how to survive a bear market. I mean, this market has been, needless to say, a little bit up, a little bit down lately. If you haven't met me yet or have seen me, I'm Dolph. I'm the owner of Clear Income Strategies Group. I have a radio show every 4 o'clock on Saturday on WBT, if you like enjoying listening to the radio. I've been fortunate enough to be seen and heard on all these presentations in front of you. And so we have resources of the Forbes article and all these other articles. If you want access to them, all you have to do is just ask. I'd be more happy to share them with you. So once again, we are in a time that none of us, I don't think in our lifetime, has ever experienced anything like this nature. This global pandemic. We've seen a lot of pandemics happen over the years, but nothing ever happened in this way. So we are basically in the presence of the unknown. And as I say in my radio show all the time, it's a so what, now what? So what, it's happened, now what are we going to do about it? I mean, we're working in remote workplaces, stores are closing, some resources like toilet paper, I don't understand that one, or that one's hard to get a hold of. Sheltering, how long is this going to happen? And this is some of the heaviest market volatility since 2008, if not even more. So what the behaviors we're going to be talking about in the next half hour or so are, how long is this going to last? What different behaviors and what options are there out there going forward when we're doing stuff like this? Now, I don't know if you ever remember a guy by the name of Mike Tyson. He was a pretty good boxer back in the day, but he was always, until he got beat by Buster Douglas, he was like, everybody has a plan until they got punched in the mouth. And well, it's kind of a little harsh to say it that way, but too many people have a plan. It's just, unfortunately, no one expects that plan to have to change, and people have to change their plan. You go on vacation and something's closed, you have to change your plan. And then this is those times that everybody saw a correction coming in the market at some point. We didn't know how big or small it was going to be, but this is a big change. I mean, no one's thought something that happened in China, a disease, could come here and do what it's done to us. Now, most of us, if not all of us, remember 2008. We remember the tech bubble of 2001 and what caused that. And then we have the 2008, and a lot of things led up to 2008. Is this the same, yes or no, as 2008? And this is a great slide if you want to take a picture or screenshot for any of these things on here. You're more than welcome to do it. They've all been approved by compliance. But 2008, we kind of like let ourselves up to that with the foreclosures, with the housing bubble, mortgage loans and credit were no longer. I mean, we kind of got into that. And it was a large recession that took almost to 2015 to recover from for most people. And a lot of people did forget about it, but they didn't remember about what happened. Now look at forward to 2020, little town called Wuhan, China, the coronavirus, began. The cases started growing and started going globally. And then it spread to the United States, and then it hit the global markets. And we also remember a couple of weeks ago when the market went down like 2,600 points in one day. I mean, a lot of days, we remember when the market was a 200-300 point drop, it was front page news. I mean, this week alone, like today, it's up 300-400, and it's been roller coastering all over the place. And people are being like the Backstreet Boys, and I've been joking about that on the radio all the time of buy, buy, buy. And then people are selling, and then now Russia and Saudi Arabia with their oil prices. I mean, I filled up for gas yesterday at 142. I mean, it's unreal. But we're getting basically a gallon of gas for a whole month because no one's out there doing that. But this is basically the fastest bear market in history, and the outlook still is uncertain. They don't know what the peak is going to be. They haven't said what the peak is going to be, but we just got to ride it through and basically get ready for hopefully something like this never happening again. If it does, we can go that way. Now, we know we're in a bear market, even though the stocks and the markets come back a little bit and got federal people are pumping money in there. But I mean, you got unforeseen negative fundamentals and investor settlements, and something that no one sees coming is a bear market. And generally, we don't know what the future holds, but we do know there are ways we can get better prepared for uncertain times, especially before, during, and in retirement. And that's what this is mostly about, is if this other does happen again, which way are we going to go with it? Oops, sorry about that. Now, in my book, Cross the Bridge Retirement, and then also a lot of talks, I talk with a lot of people, including yourselves, that retirement red zone is the 5 to 10 years before you get to retirement, and then 5 years after you get in retirement. And this is basically the stronghold of what we're going to be talking about today, is when it comes to retirement savings, the three of the biggest risks out there are the sequence of returns risks, the longevity risk, and behavioral risk. And we're going to go each one of those for a few minutes and decide what they are and how they can affect each one of you. Now, this is a little video. We've shown it before. It's about 3.5 minutes long. It does get a little choppy from time to time, depending on your internet connection, but this is basically how sequence of return risk is operated.
Timing is everything. Markets have gone up and down for as long as we can remember. And when you are saving for retirement, market corrections, while at times worrisome, may not be as consequential. Why? Because you have time on your side for the markets to recover before you will need to rely on your nest egg. However, when you are taking income from those retirement accounts, market corrections can have a significant impact on the long-term ability of those same assets to generate income for as long as you live. And if those market corrections take place early in retirement, the risk of outliving your savings can be magnified. We call this risk, sequence of returns risk, or sequence risk. Once upon a time, there existed two siblings, older brother Bill and little sister Jill. Bill did well saving for retirement, and when he reached retirement age in 1996, he'd accumulated $1 million in total retirement assets. Bill followed a broad market index fund, and upon retirement withdrew only what he needed each year, around 4%. Jill is 3 years younger than her brother Bill, and she followed Bill's footsteps when it came to her investment strategies. She also amassed $1 million in total retirement assets by following the broad market index fund and withdrew 4%. The only difference? Jill retired in 1999, 3 years later than her brother. Let's get back to Bill. He started withdrawing $40,000 a year, adjusted 3% per year for inflation. By the end of 2018, his withdrawals totaled just over $1,200,000, and his residual account value increased to just under $1,700,000. Bill's looking good, but how's his younger sister Jill? Jill retired in 1999, but she continued to follow in Bill's footsteps by withdrawing $40,000 a year, adjusted 3% per year for inflation. By the end of 2018, her total withdrawals totaled just over $1 million, but her total account value was just over $170,000. Jill has $1,500,000 less than her brother Bill. What happened? Bill retired in 1996 and experienced 4 years of positive returns before weathering 2 bear markets from 2000 to 2002 and 2008 to 2009. Bill simply had more time for his savings to grow before the negative returns hit. Jill, however, retired in 1999, only had 1 year of positive returns before the first bear market. Jill fell victim to sequence risk. The only thing Jill did differently was retire 3 years later, giving her a different sequence of market returns. Sequence of return risk can significantly impact the ability of your retirement nest egg to provide income for as long as you live. But there are strategies that you can use to help minimize the potential impact that sequence of returns can have on your retirement. One option is through the use of a fixed index annuity. These long-term retirement income vehicles offer tax-deferred growth potential. There are options based on when income is needed or how early you start planning for retirement income. Ask your financial professional what strategies may be appropriate for your retirement.
A lot of people, when they talk about with that video with Jill and Bill, is like nobody knows what's going to happen when you retirement. A lot of people have the retirement date set up, and that's where that retirement red zone hits for people. So I mean, many people focus on average returns in their portfolio, but the sequence may be much more important, which I'm going to show here in a second on this slide here, and then because of the withdrawal factor. Now, if you look at the sequence of returns here from 2000 to 2014, let's see if I can get my little pen thing out here working. There's the pen thingy. Okay. You can see beginning here is negative and beginning here is positive. Now, if we flip them, no matter what order you put all these in, you're still going to get an average return of 4.07% during this 15-year cycle here. That's pretty interesting because you can put 3 negatives here and 3 negatives over here, and you still have the same return. But if you look at the withdrawal accounting for inflation, the portfolio balance for one is this, the other is that. And that's how crazy sequence of returns can be in a portfolio, is we don't know when we're going to get this and we don't know when we're going to get that. These all stayed the same, but still the return is the same, but the ending value is a lot. And this is where guaranteed income for the rest of your life is such an important thing for you, where you don't have to worry about these sequence of returns risk at the same time. Now, if you're taking withdrawals in a down market, you're basically doubling a hit on your portfolio. I mean, like, again, we don't know how long what we're going through right now is going to last. Hopefully not much longer, but all signs we don't know. But when you need to take your withdrawals, you sell low with the ability to gain when buying low. And then you sell more to generate more income. And then next thing you know, you're selling off your nest egg at a faster rate. Hence, you're drawing down your money. And with no protection on the aspect of it, you could run out of money very quickly. So how do we get rid of this risk, or how do we change it? Well, one thing you can do is work part-time. I have some clients that actually work up in Belmont. He works a couple days a week just to have some extra money because of the secret. He's in a down market. He wants to get some extra come in. A lot of people don't want to work in retirement though. You can diversify your income between all your different sources. Take more out of your 401k or your annuities, or just basically rely on Social Security. You can be flexible with spending, create a solid emergency fund, and then you can consider different financial products and vehicles out there like life insurance and annuities to just take care of that portion of your portfolio you want to have guaranteed income and not worry about the risk in them. I think the biggest risk out there personally is longevity. There's a couple things in this world. I'm a very religious person. I mean, I believe there's a God, and I know I'm not him. But there's one thing out there I know, that nobody knows how long they're going to live, and this hence is the risk of running out of money in retirement, because we are living longer. I mean, longevity increases because average retirement used to be 15 to 18 years, and now that thing's jumping to 20 to 25 years. So having enough money to live on for the rest of your life and not having to be dependent on other people also goes into the portfolio of how to survive another bear market, because you don't want to lose that money. Now, these are some traditional methods that have been out there over the years. I'm sure most of you have heard of the 4% rule by Morningstar, where if you take 4% of your portfolio, you should have enough to last for the rest of your lifetime. The key word there is should. But then again, now that, excuse me, Morningstar is down to 2.7%, because the slew of inflation years could really, really dig into your portfolio. And if you're looking now with all the stimulus packages going forward, this is even another point to put in there, is that this money is going to come back somehow. And I think it's going to come back through inflation and through high taxes down the road, because the government's going to probably want to get their money back at some point. When a lot of people start taking out what they can afford, I mean, this is a great method unless you have high inflation years or downturn. I mean, gas prices are not going to stay at $1.42 for a long time, but in later years, you got to cover one of the biggest things out there, costs, and that's called healthcare costs. And then RMDs, again, it's not a bad method to start with, but taking out the IRS is requiring you to, doesn't calculate for unforeseen circumstances. Again, inflation rates. Now, I don't know if a lot of you receive our social media posts from Lauren and from the team, but with the stimulus package, they are waiving RMDs for this year. So they're trying to help stimulate the economy in that aspect of not forcing people to take out their money. And also with the Secure Act, we had a workshop on a month or so ago. You don't have to start taking out your RMDs until you're 72 years old. So those are some things, if you haven't been informed by, we have brochures and information. We'd be more happy to share with you on those topics. So how do you mitigate longevity risk? Well, first one is you can start spending safely and being more cautious with your money. You can calculate your longevity and retiring when it makes sense. Again, you can pick up a second job. You can have passive income sources, or again, figure out and get yourself a guaranteed lifetime producing financial product like an annuity or a self-created pension. Like my dad, he's a very frugal individual, and he's now 76 years young, and he's very safe on his spending of his money, because he doesn't know how long he's lived. I mean, his parents lived well into their 90s and so forth, so they're going very well, but he's not getting to enjoy as much as I believe he should be enjoying with the money that he's saved up after all those years at Ford. But he's making sure that he's not going to be dependent on anybody else. I mean, he has a few annuities, he has a pension and so forth. So everybody's situation is different. I've learned this over the last 17 years of working with clients, is an annuity is right for some people, stocks are ready for other people, but at the end of the day, it's like what your situation is best for you. Now, this is one of the big ones, and we're going to go through this really quickly, is the behavioral risk. There's 4 different types of behavior that investors' emotions can overpower rational thinking in bull and bear markets. And it's like through greed and fear. And if you look at what makes places like Las Vegas so successful and financially, is that people go there in greed and fear. People get greedy and try to win too much, or they get fearful of losing, and then they don't know what they're doing. Because you got the preserver, the follower, the independent, and the accumulator. I mean, look at yourself through the next few minutes and figure out which one of these 4 are you, and how are you behaving with your portfolio and your plans going forward. Preservers are basically very passive. They value their security and wealth preservation more than gross. They're very risk adverse. They're less satisfied with gains, but they're more disappointed with losses. And they tend to sell winners and hold on to losses. I mean, they're very holding on to the money, kind of like my dad, I would say, going back to that one. He's just give me what I get. I don't want to lose anything. I just want to make a little bit. I'm not going to spend very much. And this is the way I'm going to live my lifestyle going forward. I'm not going to take any of those extra vacations or get the extra features on the TV remote control, but I'm still going to enjoy my life. And then you got the follower. These are tended ones that are out there. They're also very passive. They comply with advice from friends and family, but they make abrupt decisions based on urging a friend or family member. Their biggest fear is regret, and they're afraid to make the wrong decisions with conflicting advice from friends. Basically, at the end of the day, the follower may avoid making a decision. Now, over the last bunch of years, I can tell you how many, I basically call the follower the procrastinator, the one who just procrastinates on doing something, like mowing the lawn. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then next, you have to finally do something. And same with their portfolio. They procrastinate. They listen to other people. Well, just because Jill and Bill had a great stock doesn't mean it's going to be right for you, or they had a great annuity doesn't mean right. Their situation is different. The procrastinators and, like I said, the followers, they just keep on waiting and waiting and waiting. And then they go to that next bullet point where they're regretting that they didn't do something earlier. Like before this crash of this coronavirus, I had an individual had about almost $3 million, and he was thinking about opening up a strategy with me. He said, no, I'm going to try to get to 3.5. Well, now he's down to like 1.8 because he procrastinated. And it's unfortunate, but he said, hey, it's my fault. I have to do with it and go forward with it. Then there's the most popular one out there is the independent. These are they're active. They act quickly, decisive. They're confident in themselves. They do research, but they become overconfident in research and basically make decisions based on the positive and negative market outlook. I mean, they're very inflexible. They rush into things. They don't act too quickly. It's like when somebody calls them and they say, hey, I got a great air conditioner unit for you, once in a lifetime opportunity. They'll research it, boom, I'm going to buy it without actually doing a lot of there. And the dangerous side about the independent advisor is sometimes their ego gets involved and it can cost them down the road. And the last is the accumulator. They're very active. They're risk takers. They have a lot of confidence. They're very successful in business. And they want to carry that into investing. But their biggest flaw is overconfidence. And they have this false sense of control. It's kind of like that person goes to the blackjack table and thinks that they can't lose, and then they start losing, and they think they're going to get back, and they get back. And like I said, there's this great show called Suits. I don't know if you've watched it, and since everybody has a lot of time on Amazon Prime, he was playing poker against this guy, and he had a 2-8 in the hole, but he convinced the guy who was overconfident that he had a better hand, and he ended up losing. So accumulators are very dangerous, but when you get to the whole thing, this is another good screenshot. If you look over at the last, from 2004, right after the tech bubble bursted, all the way up to today in 2018, well, technically 2020. Look at the sayings that are on the board. Which ones have you gone through? Are you the wow, I'm smart, then how I could be so wrong, and then wow, I'm smart again? Or are you the anxiety, the denial, the fear, or the hope, the relief? This is how people feel, and people get scared. And fear is a scary thing. Stress is even worse. When I was an altar boy back in the day, I had Father Mentor once told me this thing is every time you're upset, lonely, fearful, scared, angry, there's a moment of happiness you're taking away from yourself. You don't have to be fearful. If you have your plan in place, you have your guarantees, you have your confidence level where it should be, and you trust what you're doing, all these should be optimism, excitement, and thrill. They should never have that panic and desperation because you plan properly, so this could not hurt you whatsoever. So how do you get rid of the behavioral risk? I mean, you work with a financial professional. I mean, I'd say 95% of my client base has 2 advisors. They work with me for the safe side. They work with the other advisor for the more risk portfolio. I mean, we have software. They have software. Get your own software. Then don't do emotional investing. And then you have to figure out what your risk level is. And don't make sudden decisions unless you have an idea of where it's going to be going. And of course, a big one is diversifying your portfolio and avoiding all eggs in one basket. I mean, there's a lot of strategies out there that you can have all your eggs in one basket, but hey, if you have 4 CDs, have them with 4 different banks and 4 different time frames. If you have 4 annuities, have it 4 different companies and 4 different time frames. You have stocks the same way, bonds and mutual funds all the same way. Now, how should you respond to a bear market? Typically, over history, it's an 18-month rule. The bear market usually lasts around 18 months. Some last longer, some don't last as long. But when you should re-enter the market? When you should re-enter indexes? And on the right side, you'll see the bear market since 1946 and the duration that they lasted. I mean, the one in 2001, I mean, that took 30 months. That's a long time. The 2008, 17 months. The one we're at right now, where are we going to be at? Nobody knows. And going forward is that when do you cut your losses and when is enough is enough? It's a hard decision to make. It's very personal, but you have to make it yourself for you, your family, and your loved ones who are the most important people in your life. Now, going in right now, the biggest thing with you're going into a bear market is the risk worth the reward. Let's just say you had $500,000, and in 5 years, that $500,000 was still worth $500,000 with all the roller coaster ride. How would you feel? Would you be yellow, green, or red? If you had a 500,000 in 5 years and it was worth 750, would you be yellow, green, or red? And if you had 5 in 500 years and it was only 250, yellow, green, or red. Now the middle one is if you decided to use that 500,000 for income, there are income annuities out there that will guarantee that 500,000 value will be worth 750 in 5 years, and you'll know what you're going to have. And if you're planning to retire or you're in retirement and you're using that money for legacy planning or for supplemental income, which of those three would you want to go with? Guaranteed, the unknown, or the safety bucket? Now we have a thing here off that a lot more people are paying attention to now that they're home more, with medical information, legal documents, and personal account information with you and your loved ones. We've, Lauren and the team and I, we've created a packet called The File. It's a great 6-piece pamphlet that we are giving away complimentary. If you wanted a copy of it, just email me or go to the right of the screen and click on the questions tab, say I'd like to have the file or whatever. Be more than happy to get it over to you. It's a great document that shows you where everything's at in case something happens to you where your siblings or loved ones can take it. You can put it in, fill it out with a glass of wine or a glass of tea, but I highly recommend getting a hands on the file because especially times like this, it could save your life and it could help others go away from going through a headache down the road. These are some questions you need to ask yourself and also ask your financial professional if you're working with one right now is, are you taking on too much risk for your situation? What should I do if the market continues to drop? Am I diversified enough? Is my portfolio right for my age? Does my portfolio fit my financial goals? Or how long will my income last? I mean, there's a lot of big companies out there. I won't mention the names out of them for compliance purposes. But like I said, the one guy said he was at 3 million, now he's at 1.8. And his advisor is just saying, well, stick it out, see what happens. And it's like, well, what if that thing keeps on going down? I mean, yeah, it could easily come back up, but what if it goes down? Is the risk worth the reward at the end of the day? Because your money is more important to you than anybody else in this world. And if a portion or not a high portion of your money is not protected from risk, what are you going to do at the end of the day? What are you going to do? Are you going to just keep riding it out, or are you going to keep guessing and hoping that it comes back? And the big question is, and the unknown is, what happens after this election? Who's the president? What's going to happen? Who's to say something crazy might not happen in the next 4 or 5 years? All that money you worked for your whole life is very important, and it's nothing more important than to yourself. Now, I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time and effort to spend a little half hour with me on the presentation. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about. Again, the questions tab, the resource tab on the handouts on the right-hand side, or anything that like to have, let me know. I encourage you to ask for the file and receive the file. Encourage you to, we have our radio show every Saturday at 4 o'clock, but take this time of reflection of being at home, unfortunately, and spend it by calling family members and friends and just checking on them that they're okay. And take a few minutes to look at your risk portfolio and see if there's something we can work with here at Clear Income Strategies Group to help you restructure your portfolio or see how much your risk level is or any of that stuff going nature. So again, I'm Dolph Janis. Thanks so much. Every Tuesday and Thursday, every week, we're going to have a different topic. If there's a topic that you would like us to create a presentation on, we can do that. I'm doing virtual appointments throughout the week through GoTo, where it's just one-on-one. If you have a camera on your phone or your computer, we can talk right there and there, and we can do a whole meeting right in front of you. So everybody out there, be blessed, be safe. Thank you for listening, and have a safe weekend, and hope you guys get to join one of my other webinars soon. Take care now.